And now we have more fire, but again, overall it's not that scary because, again, purple Pikmin can very easily break the geysers. We also have water dumples, which, if I'm not mistaken, are actually related to bulb orbs, according to, like, lore information on the series. It's kind of funny that these are related to bulb orbs, but dwarf bulb orbs are not. We have a white candy pop bud, but again, 30 white Pikmin is actually about all we need. We really don't need many white Pikmin. The amount of like walls that can only be broken by white Pikmin are extremely small. Like, we've already destroyed most of them across the Awakening Wood and the Perplexing Pool. I feel like I keep having to second-guess myself on the names of these locations because I keep wanting to say, like, Distant Spring, but that is definitely Pikmin 1. We also have a new type of enemy, this little crawfish enemy. I actually don't remember the exact name for it. It's like the crawmad or something. Basically, lure it out of its little spot and then attack it as it's trying to go back. And this is actually a very good setup. Actually, this is a bad setup because it's clipping through the wall. But basically, if it actually lands on the ledge, it has a harder time climbing back up, which means even if it grabs the Pikmin, it can't eat a Pikmin until it crawls back into its hole. So yeah, if you can actually fight one with a ledge and get it stuck like that, that actually saves yourself a lot of grief from having to actually quickly defeat the enemy before it manages to escape. We have two treasures right next to each other, one with the enemy and one behind this wall. So let's carefully dodge the fire. Actually, let's just break this so they can carry it back more easily, and then start working on this wall to collect this next treasure. Is it back yet? It should be back. And we have a little piece of chocolate called the King of Sweets, worth 15 Pokos. I don't know how to feel about the amount of times I've already been like, hey, this thing should be back to the ship by now, and then it arrives immediately after. I almost feel like that shows, or that says that I know this game way too well, that I can kind of gauge the exact timing it will probably take for Pikmin to carry something back. Again, I have played both this game and the first game extensively, so that's part of the reason why I can kind of gauge a lot of things, where it's like, yeah, this will probably take this amount of time. Speaking of which, it's almost back by now. And we have a Bowser-themed matchbox called the Flame of Tomorrow for 10 Pokos. I do like a lot of the references in this game with like the different Nintendo items and the Hole of Beasts and the Awakening Wood, and just throughout there are plenty of like Nintendo references, along with other brands, obviously. There is still one heart here, or treasure here. Oh, that's a bad setup. Again, these are randomly generated, so sometimes you'll end up with really bad situations, like multiple enemies being right next to each other, and then having to deal with the question of how do I defeat this this pairing without actually losing Pikmin. And the answer is, you actually don't have to. If you end up with a really bad setup, one option is to simply reload, because that actually resets the level. And yeah, it saves between every floor automatically. So yeah, you can basically save and reload if you get a really bad setup. This isn't too terrible though. We managed to lure the water dumple far enough away that wasn't a problem, and now we can deal with the other enemy no problem, hopefully. So yeah, if we can stun it, that helps a lot in terms of actually defeating it quickly. Oh, there it is. I was gonna say, where's the treasure? And it's inside this little pipe. So might as well have the purple Pikmin start tearing down that, and then have the white Pikmin carry it back, because, yeah, it's just faster that way. I almost feel like Pikmin 3 actually solves a problem that Pikmin 2 has in terms of the usefulness of Pikmin, because, yeah, we brought red Pikmin along, because fire is a problem in this dungeon, or in this cavern, and yet we barely actually use the red Pikmin for anything, because it's just easier to use purple Pikmin to break the geysers and defeat all the fire enemies that aren't actively on fire. But yeah, I think Pikmin 3 actually finds a better way to balance combat to make the red Pikmin more useful. This has always been one of my favorite treasures, this little locket with a picture of a dog in it. The time capsule, worth 70 Pokos. Alright, so that's another floor down, so let's see what's next. So I'll be honest, I actually don't know why on, I think, floor 3, I thought a Wollywog was supposed to, like, drop from the ceiling. And now I'm trying to remember which cavern I'm mixing that up with, because I thought it was this one. Anyway, this is actually an unusual final floor, because, unlike a lot of the ones we've seen so far, we should have 2 treasures here instead of, 1. Also, we have another glint beetle, or flint beetle. I keep mixing them up. They are different, actually. Glint beetles are new. Flint beetles were in the first game. We have another spicy spray, so might as well just try to get as many as we can. Saves us, or I can mess up the glitch. That works too. To be fair, I actually don't use them that much, so it's not that big of a deal. Truth be told, I don't think I've ever had this treasure spawn in this spot. That's why I was tossing Pikmin up here, because I instinctively went to one of these 2 spots. But like, I don't think I've ever seen it appear here, so again, sometimes the random nature of this game still surprises me, because it's like, I did not expect that to be on that ledge. I actually didn't even realize that ledge was there, if I'm being totally honest, but there it is. We have the Regal Diamond, worth only 100 Pokos. Some of the Poco costs or prices for these items don't make a ton of sense to me. Like, you'd think a diamond would be worth more, and yet here we are. So this area is called the Citadel of Spiders, so you might already have an idea of what the boss will be, and we will be continuing the trend of hopefully trivializing Pikmin 1 enemies with another fight with the beady Longlegs. It's actually easier in this game. I hope I don't eat my words. But again, this is a deathless run, so if I do lose Pikmin here, you actually won't be hearing any of this anyway. Again, my advice would be to switch to the overhead perspective to line up throws more easily. Again, I find it a little bit finicky actually lining up throws specifically with the pointer controls. So yeah, as soon as it like leans down, toss Pikmin. We are using purple Pikmin. You could get through this fight technically faster if you used yellows, because you can throw them up to the body by default. But for whatever reason, I do prefer using purple Pikmin because they are stronger. The only downside is because it shakes off Pikmin. It basically means that you aren't dealing a ton of damage at a given time. Let's try to actually wait a moment, like so. Sometimes I'll actually, yeah, I didn't actually need to call the Pikmin off that time, so that was my mistake. Sometimes it's hard to judge, and especially on a deathless run, I tend to play it safe a lot more than I even have to in some cases. But again, trying to be a little careful. There we go. managed to get a 2-cycle there, but I didn't actually latch many Pikmin onto it. I do like how the beady Longlegs in both incarnations actively starts to crumble as you're getting close to the end. It's a nice sign of, like, progress towards the fight. Oh, that was almost enough. Definitely the next cycle will be fine. Again, this is very scary, but not too terrible. Definitely easier than in the first game, thankfully, because I do not like this fight in the first game. But there we go. Sweet victory! That giant insect's body has crumbled to dust. I'm quite relieved to know I won't have to store such an enormous bug. Analyzing soil samples. Anomaly detected. What's that glittering widget? I feel like the BB Longlegs is actually faster in the first game. I don't know if it's my imagination or not, but it does feel like a fairly easy fight compared to the first game, which, again, I don't entirely mind, because that's always one of the biggest walls whenever I do play the first Pikmin. So yeah, that actually went really smoothly. Worth 100 Pokos, we have the key! This object seems familiar. I will combine it with the President's Parallel Dimension Controller. Alert! Sensors indicate a massive dimensional shift at a distant location. I'm receiving a message from a far-flung dimension. Displaying the message now. Challenge mode can now be accessed from the title screen. It appears to be total gibberish. Hopefully the message has reached its intended recipient. I will name this apparently worthless device the key. A nice bit of fourth wall breaking, as the message has been received. By collecting the key, we have unlocked this game's challenge mode, which we'll be trying at the end of this playthrough. With roughly 800 Pokos earned and no Pikmin lost, we have completed the Citadel of Spiders. So we still have a bit of time left, so I actually want to swap numbers around a bit. First things first, I'm going to put away some of the red Pikmin, not all, for reasons, and I am going to put away all of the white Pikmin, because our next stop, basically there's no need to bring a ton of white Pikmin along, other than potentially to carry things back, in which case it might actually have been a good idea to keep some around, but oh well. We actually have plenty of spots because we actually don't have many yellow Pikmin yet. So we are going to take some red Pikmin for reasons that should be somewhat obvious by now based on my playstyle and how I've been approaching this game up to this point. And also just to fill out our numbers a little bit more to give us a bit of an edge against the next challenge that we're about to face. Yeah, I was actually going to dedicate some time to collect berries, but because we actually have 3 now, I actually might skip, because we really don't need to. So, we have an electric fence over there. So first things first, let's try to flower as many of the yellow Pikmin as we can. If we got more sprays, that also would have been nice, to be honest, but I also feel like I've gotten abnormally lucky this playthrough already, so I'm not overly upset by that. We're kind of where the pilot seat was in the first game. We also have another cave entrance and an electric fence that the yellow Pikmin can easily tear down. And by easily, I mean it might take a bit, to be honest. Also, grass doesn't give you sprays, only the eggs do. So yeah, whenever you see an egg, make sure to break it, because that is very helpful to get free sprays, potentially. I'm also trying to be a little bit careful not to lure the Wollywog over to the yellow Pikmin, so that's why I'm kind of keeping a distance here. Also, because electricity is instant death, I also want to keep these Pikmin well away from this gate. This is the only hazard that you can't call Pikmin to save them. If a Pikmin touches electricity, it will instantly die. I'm pretty sure Pikmin 3 actually changes that to make electricity more like the other hazards, and like you can save the Pikmin by whistling. But in this game, yeah, it is instant death, so be very careful about that. We might not have actually been able to collect too many berries because of the amount of time we had, and then get all of these Pikmin over to this area, so this worked out totally fine, actually collecting a few in the last dungeon. Yeah, that was actually very, very lucky. The wall should almost, or the fence should be just about cleared. There it goes. Again, I feel like I've played this game too much if I'm able to actually gauge exactly the timings of some things. Interesting. My odor detectors are reacting. A strong scent wafts from that hole. I'm a machine, so rating sense is beyond me, but your faces tell me all I need to know. You're both drooling. I wish, just once, I could feel what it is like to drool. Next up is the Glutton's Kitchen. So the Glutton's Kitchen is a very interesting cavern. It actually has a very different look than any of the others we've seen so far, with like flooring and everything. Again, the music in these caverns is very different and very unique. And again, I don't know if it's entirely in a good way, to be honest. It's very, like, very different. So next up we have some dwarf bullbears, which actually are bullbears and are not bread bugs, which is actually very ironic considering the next floor of this particular area. Let's clear them out and try to make a path for the treasure to make it to the pod. This is actually very tricky, but I somehow landed that throw anyway. I don't know how that worked. Yeah, here we are. Yeah, sometimes the throwing can be a little bit awkward in this version, specifically in this version. I feel like I never had that much trouble on GameCube, but again, maybe I'm just really, really used to the GameCube version and don't realize how, like, awkward it is by comparison, because this is actually one of the first times I've actually played this version, if I'm being honest. We have a peach-pink piece of chalk called the Master's Instrument, worth 30 Pokos. And with that, we are already good to go. Next up is floor 2, which is actually deceptively annoying. Not because it's actually particularly difficult, but if you leave Pikmin unattended, they can get in trouble because there are sheer grubs. So if you think, oh, I can just leave the Pikmin to carry something back, no problem. That's not always the case. Sometimes you will run into trouble with the sheer grubs. We have some bread bugs. Unlike in Pikmin 1, it's actually not super, like, efficient to have them, like, carry something back, and defeat them by, like, beaming them up into the pod. That basically takes out most of their health, but because we have purple Pikmin, we can very easily defeat them just using throws. And if the onion happens, or if the ship happens to be far away, it can often be more efficient to simply throw Pikmin, rather than, like, having Pikmin drag the bread bug back, like, you know, multiple times. It has to be done at least 2 times. So yeah, for the time it would take to actually carry 2 things back to the onion, it might just be faster to defeat it like this. Which is usually what I end up doing instead, since we have the option. Again, purple Pikmin are very strong, and definitely kind of break some of the game balancing. I think my biggest issue with that is how much it affects the overall balancing of other things. Like, oh, because purple Pikmin are really strong, it kind of made the designers overtune the difficulty in other regards. So yeah, combat isn't a problem inherently, but there are definitely things that are a bit tricky to deal with. This is what I meant earlier, where sometimes the sheer grubs will definitely get in the way, and if you're not expecting it, you can definitely get in trouble. Okay, this is actually something I want to mention, because, basically the way bread bugs work is, you need to weigh down an object more, basically max out the number of Pikmin on an object. It's not interested in this, so never mind. So basically, it's a little tricky with other types of Pikmin, but purple Pikmin can very easily overpower bread bugs, which is very nice and definitely makes them easier to deal with the other way as well, in terms of fighting them by just taking them to the escape pod instead of just using direct force. We have another bottle cap called the Happiness Emblem for 100 Pokos. I have a feeling we'll have to defeat this. Basically, the bread bugs can also carry treasure to their, like, holes, and if you actually, if they actually drag a treasure in, you have to defeat the bread bug to access it. So yeah, we actually do have to defeat this one. Not too big of a deal, but a little bit annoying, especially in some cases where you basically spawn into a dungeon or a cavern. I keep saying dungeon for some reason. Like if you enter a cavern and right away you already can't get all the treasures because of the bread bugs. And that's kind of based on a little bit of luck, based on positioning of items, and, like, you know, spawn locations of enemies as well. So yeah, the overall speed of being able to complete these floors is kind of up to luck, which can be a little bit frustrating at times. I am missing a Pikmin. Again, at least if you are missing a Pikmin, you can... Oh, there it is. You can leave the floor and everyone will automatically regroup. Again, it almost makes it a little bit too easy to get through some floors if you can leave all the Pikmin, like, at the starting area, and then with a single captain, make your way over to the exit. So yeah, a lot of the design choices in Pikmin 2 are very interesting from, like, a balancing standpoint, and we haven't even seen some of the worst of it yet. And we have the Imperative Cookie for 25 Pokos. Okay, so that's everything on this floor, and luckily the exit is right over here.